Hello everybody, welcome back. My name is Jordan, also known as JMonster, and today we're going to be covering the final game of the Silmarillion Total War Tournament, which took place probably about 2.5-ish months ago. I am joined by one of the finalists, FFAMuffins, who's actually playing this battle, and he's going to be doing some analysis with me and going over his strategies and things like that, and just kind of his impressions of the mod so far. So why don't you say hi to everybody, Muffins?
How's it going, everybody? As JMonster said, my name's FFAMuffins, and yeah, this is the final match between myself and Artorias for the Silmarillion 1v1 tournament. So exciting to be able to showcase it. It was a good battle.
It's a really close game. So I'm just going to take a quick look at his army composition here. He's got 2 Gijek Scouters chosen. He's also got 2 of the Wolf Guard, which I think are in the kind of center over there with his larger wing of his army. He's got Laugskaraz, 2 units of them out here on the wing alongside the chosen. He's also got Throng Sheik, 3 Blood Drinkers, which are 2-handed axemen. He's got 2 Gijek Scouters warg units. He's got 3 full-strength units of Howlers. He's also got 1, or maybe 2 detachments of Howlers. Yes, 2 detachments. There's the Wolf Guard that I spoke about earlier, and he's also got Ash Priests. So not a lot of missile troops in here. Why don't you tell me a little bit about your strategy going into this battle?
Yeah, so my strategy going in was to kind of overwhelm with numbers. I know Osirian, as a faction in general, is going to want to try and shoot you, so my goal is to surround them on all sides with the locked morale howlers and then get my better units onto the flanks and kind of divide and conquer his army from there.
It's a solid strategy playing as Toland Gauderhoth. Their infantry is kind of garbage tier in a lot of ways, and you definitely need to be able to surround in order to get anything done if you're trying to fight a purely infantry game. But let's take a look at Artorias' Green Elf army here. He's definitely got 2 Sentries of Galleon. I think the other one is still hidden somewhere. And he's got 2 units of the Outriders of Wheelwind. They are monster-hunted cavalry, but they're also spear cavs, so they're not too bad against warg units and against cavalry. They're kind of middle of the road, halfway between wargs and melee cavalry. He's also got 2 Urfin and Tower. They are Lock Morale Axemen with a missile. He's got 1, maybe 2 of the Mithrin and Togalen. A bunch of Spear Host of Wrath L'Oreal. He's got some detachments as well. And there's the detachment of the Spear Host. 2 Scouts of Galleon, which is the mainline archer. He's also got 3, I believe, Spear Host of Galleon, which are currently capped at 2, but during this particular matchup, they were capped at 3. And he's also got... where are they? He's got a bunch of detachments of the Skirmishers of Wrath L'Oreal as well, which is, again, an infantry that dual-wield swords that also has a missile. And then over here you're going to see some more of the Hunters, Spear Host, and that kind of stuff. So let's go ahead and we'll put it into full speed now.
Alright.
Oops, I put it into 6 for a second.
What's your timing?
26 through 42 currently.
Alright, perfect.
And so Artorias is going to move forward here basically to the edge of this little strip that runs through the map, which does slow down your troops a little bit, and you're a little bit reluctant to go across this.
Yeah, I really didn't want to go because I need to come into contact with him, so if I cross that, it's just going to give him more time to shoot at my units. So I was a little reluctant to go, but we'll see pretty soon that I eventually do cross this little path.
That's the reluctance is definitely understandable. Kind of look at this here. It's basically a gun line you'd be running into. There's skirmishers out front, hunters on the wings, Urfin and Tower on the second line, and then the actual kind of dedicated archers on the third. There's a lot there to be afraid of, and of course he's got his cavalry moving around on the wings as well, the mobile archers. Yeah, it's definitely going to be a tough game for you. Osirian is kind of the nightmare matchup for Toland Gauderhoth in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I mean, they're infantry. They have the spears, which can turn into a phalanx, which pretty much counters every infantry unit that Toland Gauderhoth has. And I didn't bring jabs besides the Ash Priest, so I have nothing to counter those spears.
Yeah.
And then they have a lot of the armor-piercing two-handed axes in the Irfany Tower, which are very good units.
Yeah, a really scary prospect for your heavy infantry for sure. And yeah, you don't have anything that's capable of shooting back at them, so you kind of just have to run at them and hope that it works. Which appears to be what you're doing right now, and I assume that would be because he got close enough to you and then started shooting at you that you thought maybe a little bit of measured aggression would be enough to catch him out.
Yeah, he got up right to that line, and then once he started shooting, I would just be wasting time if I didn't start attacking him, because for me, numbers, I need as many of my orcs as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Just because of his units are just so better trained, and he's got arrows, so it was time to go in at this point.
Looks like you're going to catch some of his skirmishers out front. You're also going to get your claws into the Hunters of Rathlorion. It looks to me like Artorias maybe wasn't ready for this kind of general attack to happen all at once. And there's a lot of like really good army control here. You can see every piece basically is moving in tandem, and that's a lot. That he's not really going to have a chance to react to quickly enough, because you only have to cover that small space in the center.
Yeah, he bunched his army up, which was surprising. So it allowed me to get to the flanks easier than normally.
Yeah, he's looking like he's in some trouble here. So there's a fight out on Artorias' right, so that'd be your left wing. And Lauxgaraz managing to sandwich a poor unit of the Outriders of Dwylwyn here, and they're going to get cut down to about half strength really, really quickly and not have to pay too much for it in exchange. Ooh, and the Sentries of Gelion are going to get caught up in there as well. Yeah, things seem to be going really well for you. It appears that you're managing to break Artorias' micro just by presenting so many targets that it's nearly impossible to react to all at once. So you're crashing into the Rangers here in the Irfany Tower, trying to buy them some time. But the Gijek Skaraz are also going after the Scouts of Gelion. So,
I just charged my Wolfborn into his spear host, so
I can see them right here too. That's a cheeky charge there, but you do pay for it a little bit. You'll be able to get out but relatively unscathed, but
yeah, name of the game though is, well, trying to overwhelm him, and so that's what my Cav's kind of doing in the background, but his Rangers are still able to put on some heavy fire, which we'll see how that bears for my troops.
Yeah, the front line's still pretty thick, especially in the center. It looks like you'll have a chance to get a breakthrough there, right through his bodyguard units and everything, which will separate the two halves of his army. Might give you that opportunity for the surround that you need.
Ash Priests also used all their ammo, I believe. So now I'm sending them in to kind of just buff up that center.
Yeah, keep the momentum up. I managed to surround his Spear Host of Gelion with 2 units of spears, which is just a great thing for you, isn't it?
Yeah, the sooner I can kill the Spear Host, the better. As I said, they're the only counter, so gotta take them out.
Yeah, a surround is really the only thing you can do against these guys. Starting to pull it back a little bit here. Both of his Outriders are now visible, but they're starting to clap back at your cavalry somewhat. And these Tharangshik Wolfborn are just getting peppered from 2 or 3 units of skirmishers. I think there's some bow skirmishers nearby that are hitting them from the rear as well. Ooh, nice charge there. It just evaporates his center almost entirely. But the Scouts of Gelion are actually surprisingly good in close quarters. They don't have huge damage, but they have really good melee defense.
Yeah, overall they're a fantastic unit. And if I was in Artorias' position, I would have brought them as well, because they can just sit in the back and either distract the other opponent's cavalry and get free shots off while your front line does the work. So I think definitely worth it.
And then after the fact, they're actually armor piercing with their daggers. So
yeah, which is huge.
they can hold their own.
Yeah, so it looks like I'm losing on the right flank, but winning on the left flank right now.
Yeah, where those Chosen managed to get off a surround, you basically smash the spear host, and now you're able to kind of rejoin the rest of your victorious forces there, trying to reform a line. Oratorius is one on the other side. You guys are kind of exchange places, and then go for another line battle in the center. At this point, looks like you've won the backline engagement pretty handily. You managed to sink your claws into that other unit of scouts, wipe them off the field, which is pretty big. They could have easily preyed on your wargs and kind of kept them busy for much longer than they were able to.
Yeah, I think it's going to come down to who has the most cavalry at the end of it, because that's a huge deal in medieval Total War in general, is who's able to get off those rear charges.
Yeah, and melee defense being the kind of big stat in Silmarillion, there's not a ton of armored infantry, and they don't generally get up into really high values. Being able to rear charge them, even with like horse archers with 6 or 7 attack, is can be potentially game-changing.
Yeah, I think the fact that I was able to catch his horse archers was a big advantage. Throughout this tourney, I think the horse archers were one of Osirian's most effective units for almost everybody.
For sure. They hit hard, they have a lot of ammunition, more than your standard horse archer, and they're super fast. Really hard unit to pin down. So looking at these rangers here, looks like they've managed to kind of skirt through the chaos in the center, and Artorias is trying to put them in a position where they can lay down some enfilading fire with those body-piercing arrows, which could potentially ruin your prospects here somewhat.
Yeah, they, like you said, I mean, Tolengaroth's super lightly armored, and I don't know how they got past them at all. I think that's hilarious and really good on Artorias' part for microing them there.
Very sneaky.
But yeah, they just shred everything.
You need to get in there with some of your infantry and at least shut them down for now. I think there's some cavalry nearby. Hunters of Rathgloriel trying to do their best, but you kind of just have this wrecking ball of a really healthy unit of Chosen backed up with some Howlers, and I think, well, it depends. I guess how well the Spearhost of Gelion are able to do here and how many shots he's able to get off with his Rangers, but it doesn't look like it's going to be too many. Ooh, nasty charge there with the Farang Sheik.
Yeah, fairly close so far, but shutting down those Rangers, I think, will do it.
I think so too. That's kind of his one big ace in the hole. Like, most of your cavalry is gone, so if he was able to wipe out what remained of the infantry, especially the ones that are pinned in place with the Spearhost of Gelion, they're starting to pull it back a little bit against those Chosen, and if he was able to wipe out the Ash Priest, kill your general, he could have gotten in behind, and that would have been the end. But doesn't seem like he's going to have that opportunity. It's worth noting as well that this is actually the 4th game of a best-of-5, and I believe that Muffins is up by 2 in this series, so Artorias needs to kind of win this in order to stay in the tournament. There goes his poor general, cut down by some Chosen.
The battle is very...
Now the spear hosts are going to evaporate. They're pretty well gone, and that's an admit defeat right there.
Yep, and that's the game.
A close game, though. 87 to 96, or 95, I think was the final count before the routing happened. So, what is your kind of impression of the Silmarillion Total War tournament so far? Like, how do you feel the mod kind of stacks up in terms of like being a fairly decently balanced multiplayer game?
Yeah, I definitely enjoyed playing the tournament. It was exciting for the 1v1 aspect because I know that Silmarillion is not balanced for 1v1s. It's balanced for team games, which I think is pretty cool, and it's different because I don't think any other game really does that. And it was cool the way the rules were set up where if you play one faction, you can't play them again because in this it's all about faction matchups. So you could be a really good player, but if somebody picks a faction that's better than yours, It'll be either a really close game or you'll get smoked. So I've enjoyed it. It was a really fun tournament. Silmarillion's balanced extremely well. And I got to take part in the 2v2 tournament, and that was even better because you really get to see how the factions work together. But yeah, I've enjoyed playing this tournament so far, and I've enjoyed this mod so far. It's pretty fun.
Well, this is actually the winning match for Muffin, so he's the grand champion of the tournament, so big congratulations to him. In this particular matchup, if the kind of roles had been reversed, like if he had your comp and you had his, how would you have used it a little bit differently? Like,
I think I would have spread my units out, and I would have tried to kind of do a feinting, or I guess like a fighting retreat, where I would use the archers. I guess you could call it kiting, but with his comp, I think it would have been pretty hard to kite. But I would have just tried to get as much value off of my archers as possible, and then at the very last second, try and pull all my troops together and give it as much as I could.
right, yeah. I agree, that probably would have been an approach more likely to yield victory. The Howlers in particular were a huge part of your army. That was like a good half of your forces on the ground were Howlers, and they're extremely vulnerable to arrows. So if he was able to whittle those down a little bit more, he would have been able to crunch through the Macemen, and he could have handily won that infantry fight in the center, and then you would have not really been able to stop him even with all your cavalry together.
Yeah, I think that just like you said, kind of taking out the Howlers because they're the only locked morale unit besides the Ash Priests. So being able to rout them would be a huge part of the strategy.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Muffins, and a really well-played game to Artorias as well. He's a really strong player, and it was nice to see two kind of veteran multiplayer people from Total War square off against each other in this, and the results were predictably catastrophic for both sides. That's 80% of your army, about 86 or so, was killed, and about 90 or so of Artorias. So it was a really good game.
Yeah, thanks for having me, and thanks for doing this. It was a great game, and it was fun to commentate with you and join in on the tournament.
Yeah, no problem, man, and congratulations again. He's our first tournament champion, and he had some really stiff competition. Basically, all of our testers were involved, and they're all very experienced with the mod, so FFAMuffins was able to kind of come in and clean house. It was really impressive to watch.
Yep, thank you.
Alright, that's going to do for us for today. Coming up next, you're probably going to see another live stream. It'll probably be Fallen Order, and then following that, it'll be a Reforge game. I'm finally going to do the Harad versus Gondor 4v4 scenario that I was sent many moons ago. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this, and I'll see you next time.